This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on and ready to go. Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
Good evening, fellow Fox fans. How the devil are we? How are you feeling? Oh, I tell you what, top four clashes, they're like buses. You wait in ages for one, then two come along within a week. Man City last weekend, that didn't go so well, did it? West Ham United this weekend. Can we nail or can we hammer the nail into the coffin of West Ham's top four promotion hopes? Let's hope so. This is this weekend. It is a 6-pointer. I think so, because it's getting very tight up there. I just hope that the Leicester that played against Man United turn up and not the Leicester that played against Manchester City. Or, for that matter, the Leicester that turned up and played West Ham at our place earlier in the season. I'm sure the opposition view fan might just mention that, and we'll get him in a second. Indeed, we're going to be welcoming Gary from the True Fans podcast. He's a big West Ham fan, but then we all have our cross to bear, don't we? But I'm sure he would disagree with that. Good evening, Gary. How are you doing, sir?
I'm right. How about you?
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad. I've just about got over last weekend now. It wasn't a good game for us.
Unfortunately not.
No. Tell us about the True Fans podcast. What's that all about then?
Well, the True Fans podcast is basically just a podcast where we talk about all the games of the football and kind of break down what we think's going to happen in the next games of football.
Right. So it's not just the West Ham site. It's anybody can tune in and watch it, and you'll be talking about their team, Premier League, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, I hope when you talk about West Ham Leicester, you have us down for a win.
There.
Come, Gary, I've got to be honest with you here. Nosebleed time for you, isn't it? You weren't expecting this at the start of the season.
No, I wasn't. I was expecting probably, again, a relegation battle from last season. But we're high and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I mean, the last time I think you and ourselves were up there, it was our championship winning season when I think you had Bilic in charge, didn't you?
I think so, yeah.
And did you get the Europa League that season?
I think we did.
Yeah, so it's nice to see, and I'm not being patronising here and calling West Ham a small club because you're not, and you've got a great history. But I certainly don't think of Leicester as a big club yet. But it's nice to see teams like yourselves, like us, just breaking that monopoly. You know, even if it doesn't last, the fact that we've been up there just makes it more interesting.
Yeah, it does. It makes it more interesting because you don't expect what's happened in the season.
No, certainly not. So Leicester West Ham. We've played in the Premier League 27 times. We've played each other. You've won 12. We've won 9. 6 draws. So it's not that either one of us is running away with this.
Not really. I think obviously with us having the more wins, we probably got a bigger advantage. But you never know. Leicester can turn up on the day and absolutely destroy us. It's just
yeah. It's a weird season, though, isn't it? I mean, I don't know about you. For us, and I alluded it to it in the introduction there. I don't know what Leicester are going to turn up. At the start of the season, I mean, you will come on to it later, no doubt. But you beat us obviously very easily. But we couldn't play well at home at all. Or our away form was fantastic, but you didn't know what Leicester were going to turn up. Would it be like, when we play at the weekend, are you going to see the Leicester that knocked Man United out the FA Cup, or are you going to see the Leicester that you beat 3-0 that Man City rolled us over last week? How's your season been? Has it been a bit like that for yourselves?
Yeah, I think because obviously, like when we played Man United, we lost 3-1 and I think 1-0. But there was a bit of controversy during that game, and it was worrying because you don't like against Man City we were drawing them, and then we lost to them obviously the next game in the season, and it was just more it's a bit of a worrying time, but you don't expect it.
Yeah. And did you play Man United in the cup if I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
I must admit, I remember watching that game and thinking, my God, that wasn't your finest hour this season, was it?
It wasn't.
I mean, tell us about this season, because I mean, like you say, and I think we probably, when you beat us earlier in the season, we weren't expecting that West Ham, because that was right, quite early on in the season, and you'd struggled the year before. You struggled for a couple of seasons, and your fans were unhappy. You didn't want Moyes there. And you came along and you did a job over us, and that's pretty much summed up your whole season, hasn't it? You have been taking teams by surprise.
Yeah, we have been taking quite a few teams by surprise. Obviously, like Leicester, then like you're obviously your big clubs like Arsenal, Tottenham, with the 3-3 draw. It's quite surprising, to be honest.
Yes, yeah, but pleasantly surprising. that's the thing, I'm sure. I mean, this is our history again, showing sort of how tight. You did beat us 3-0. We'll come on to that in a minute. But I have to say, the season before that, we did beat you 4-1, just as getting our own back a little bit there. 2-1 to us again. We did the double over you last season. The 2-2 before that. The 1-1. The last 2 games have been quite, as I was looking back at our history, our games have always been quite tight, quite close games.
Yeah, they've been quite close because I think it's more Leicester and West Ham are kind of like equal teams, and I think it's like they can play against each other quite well.
Yes. Are you, because I mean, West Ham have always got this sort of, thing about we've got to play football the right way. Is that still a thing now, or is it just a case of we want to win?
I think it's more just a case that we want to win and get Champions League or even Europa League. Obviously, I'm hoping more for Champions League than Europa League, but if we get one of them, I'll be happy with it.
Yes, yeah. And obviously, this is a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. We're missing going to the grounds. We all are. We can't wait till we get back. We're hoping that we're in the semi-finals of the FA Cup and that they will be letting some fans into that, and touch wood if we get through to the final. Are you used to your new stadium yet? Because it was a big change from what was a very tight, quite a atmospheric ground, wasn't it, to this huge, big stadium. And I think it's taken you a while to sort of settle in. Would you say you are now?
Yeah, I think we settled in now. I think because it's just used to. I think it's also the fans not being there to give them the pressure of like scoring goals and everything. I think we can just focus on the game.
Yes, yeah. we've got to talk about it. 3-0. Not too happy. That really was a surprise. You never let us in, and this is what annoys me. And I'm just trying to bring it up on a bit more a bigger screen for myself. There is the fact that you didn't really let us play, did you?
No, we just carried on focusing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and we got to where we wanted to be.
Yes. I mean, you know, as I look at that there, and I've lost it now. Where are we? Here we go. You know, in the whole game, and this has been quite a thing for us this season. You know, Leicester in that whole game, we only had 4 shots. We didn't manage to get one on target. You had 14 shots in that game. You know, if you're looking at that stat there, and that. We've had games like that, you know, where, you know, we've had 2 and 3 shots, and in that game, no shots on target. As a Premier League team, that's not good, is it?
It's not good, but obviously it happens in football. You just got to watch out for it.
It's happening too often, unfortunately, for us this season, you know. But let's make you happy. Let's show you the league table there. I mean, last season, I mean, well, let's first of all just say, sort of, as Leicester, you know, we're the only team that hasn't been out the top 4 all season, which is making me very, very nervous because it means that it could happen at any time. And of course, last season it happened on the very last day of the season. But last season we were defending quite a big gap when we came back off COVID. We had that break, which really didn't help us at all, and that lead got gnawed away. We haven't had that really this season. We've not been miles and miles and many points ahead. You know, we're 4 points only ahead of you now. That's keeping us on our toes. If you win, and I'm saying if there, not when, if you win at the weekend, there's a point between us. It's going to get squeaky bum time, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is as well. Obviously, with Chelsea kind of being 5th and quite close to us as well, I think it's going to be very squeaky bum time.
And do you think? I mean, I was looking again at our run-ins here. I mean, you know, we've got a very hard run-in, and I've took this from a national newspaper, and we pretty much, you know, end with Man United, Chelsea, and Tottenham, all of whom we've beaten at some point this season, but still top 4. You're running, yet you've got Chelsea there. Everton aren't playing very well. Chelsea, I would tend to say for you, is probably the only tough game that you looking at that on paper. And I know it's a season that's nothing like on paper, but it shouldn't be too difficult for you, should it?
It should. I don't think it really should be because, again, obviously West Ham, obviously we're looking quite strong with the players we've got. Obviously with the injuries as well, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. But hopefully we get there. If we push higher, we push higher.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you know, we've got yourselves. Then we've got a little bit of a run with sort of West Ham, Palace, Southampton. We have got an FA Cup tie in there as well, and Newcastle. But yeah, I'll swap at this point if you're happy to. You know, if you don't mind doing that. Talk us through your injuries, because you've got, you know, and I've always tried to say, as long as I've been supporting football, oh, these teams moan about their injuries and, you know, they've got enough squad depth because of the rich and all this. But it's been a hell of a season for injuries, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. So obviously Declan Rice has just been injured during international duty. So obviously that's kind of a big blow for us, as well as Antonio got injured on Monday's game against Wolves. It's just very Ogbonna as well. Obviously he's a rocket centre back, but if he's not there, it's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride, to be honest.
And do you know if Antonio? Because I looked at the injury list earlier in the week, but obviously things change quite quickly in modern day football. Do you know with Antonio, is he likely or unlikely to be playing?
They haven't come out and said anything yet. They just said that he could be on the injured list and taking time to come back, because obviously he did come back after a hamstring injury.
Right. So I mean, hopefully he won't play. If he doesn't play, I mean, you got three big names out there. I suppose Antonio is probably the biggest one for you that's going to cause you problems.
Yeah.
Who else do you think you've got that can step into his shoes?
Jared Bowen. I think when he came on for Wolves, he just broke through the defence. Obviously Lingard as well, playing very well since coming to us. We're just going to find out and see what happens, really.
I mean, tell me about Lingard, because I've got to be honest with you. He was one of the players that I wouldn't have minded coming at the start of the season. He was being linked with quite a few teams, obviously, because of the situation at Man United. A lot of Leicester fans are going, "Oh, we don't want him, and he's past it, and he can't play, and blah, blah, blah." Bloody hell. I'll tell you what, credit to David Moyes, and I don't necessarily have always rated David Moyes as he's a sort of a mid-table manager for me, but he's got a tune out of Jesse Lingard, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, and I think it's because the reason why he came to West Ham was because of Moyes, because obviously him being a former manager of Man United, and obviously Moyes, Lingard was there when Moyes was there, and I think that's what's kind of fired him up a little bit more to give him that boost of energy.
England player, do you think? Do you think he's going to make it to the Euros in the summer?
If he carries on playing the way he is, 100%.
Yes. Yeah. And what are the chances, do you think, of you keeping hold of him and signing him permanently? Because I'd say I wouldn't mind Leicester nipping in there with a cheeky little bid for him.
I'd like to see it, but obviously I think Man United are asking like 30 million for him, which I think's fair, to be honest.
Yeah. What was I going to say there? So a message just come up here. I'm thinking this guy's a Burnley fan. Big bong. We'll leave it at that. Burnley going to do West Ham over. Don't worry. I hope so. I lived in Burnley for 25 years. Do us a favour, mate. Burnley, I mean, and in fairness, maybe I was doing Burnley an injustice there, because they've struggled this season, but they're still a difficult team to break down. So maybe your running's a little bit harder than I'm giving you credit for.
Yeah, I think maybe there's a few teams that could give us a little bit of a surprise game. Obviously, like you said, Burnley aren't a team always to say, "Oh, you're going to win against," because obviously, like they did against Everton, they looked very strong against Everton, and I think it's going to be a strong game against Burnley.
Yeah. And you got Burnley away, and then you got Everton at home. And Everton, I tell you what, they've surprised me this season. I expected more from them.
Yeah, so did I. Obviously, with the signings that they brought in, like Allen and James Rodriguez, I thought they're going to be at least title contenders.
Yeah.
And they haven't performed to the standard that everyone thought of.
No. They kind of flirted, didn't they? A bit like Tottenham Hotspur, flirted with the top of the table, then sort of petered away a little bit. I've got to ask you, as a West Ham fan, when you look at Leicester, what do you think of us as a club?
Oh, I think you're a very strong club, and a club not to kind of keep in, say, "Oh, we're good. It's an easy 3-pointer," or it's an easy game. I think Leicester can be a strong team when they've got the full strong squad out, and you're proving it, obviously, being by third in the table.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I've changed my opinion of West Ham. I've never hated West Ham, and I'm old enough to remember the days when you used to play really, really nice football. The Jeff Peters and what have you, and Bobby Moore era. But it was a lovely touch when you did what you did when our chairman died. And you lit up outside, and it made me think about a lot of other clubs, to be honest with you. And I could say, as a team, I do have a lot of time for West Ham. The owners will come on to, I'm not so sure about, but you'll talk to us about that. But do you look at Leicester and, I'm not saying that, we're a big established team or anything, but what we've achieved, do you look at that and think, do you know what, we could do that?
Probably not. I think we're not for a Premier League title. like Leicester, but you never know. One day it could happen.
It could. Well, fingers crossed, because it's always nice to see other teams do it. It was even nice to see Liverpool win it because they'd been so long waiting. Going into this game, I mean, again, our form guide is pretty much spot on there. I mean, it's hard to kind of break us up. 4 points between us. And looking at those games there, I mean, you beat Wolves 3-2. I watched that game and I've cheered Wolves on. I've never... And I hate Wolves because that's just the thing between me and the manager that shit on us and went to Wolves. But I was sorry to say I was cheering Wolves on to come back. But you know you drew with Arsenal, which was a fair result. Lost to Man United. Well, you know the second. You beat Leeds and lost to Man City, but then who hasn't? But what happened in that Wolves game? Because again, I missed the very start of it, but you were coasting.
We were coasting clear, and it was like looking at obviously how we performed against Arsenal. When they started to come back, everyone was worrying like, is this going to be another Arsenal? Are we going to draw to them now and flop it? And obviously we didn't, luckily, but we were very close to.
Like I say, I said I never will cheer them on again for a long, long time. But unfortunately, they let me down. They let me down that night. How do you think? I mean, you're at home, and that really doesn't mean a lot this season, does it? If we're honest with you, the home advantage has sort of gone out the window. How do you see West Ham lining up and taking us on? I mean, Leicester, we've kind of fallen into this new sort of formation where we've got two up front now with Vardy and Inacho. Vardy isn't scoring at the moment, but he's proving such an amazing foil for Inacho, who's just on. Well, he's just won the Premier League Player of the Month, so he's on really, really hot form. So we're probably going to be like a 3-5-2 with the 5 in midfield, the two wingers dropping back to make the 5 at the back if you're striking, if you're attacking, sorry. And like I say, rather than we've always played the 1 at the front with Jamie Vardy, we're probably going to go 2. What do you think David Moyes' tactics are going to be? You know, is there a regular theme to how he plays?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the same he's always played, which is a 4-2-3-1. With the one main striker and obviously having like the left and right midfielders and kind of pushing forwarders. So with the like Kufal pushing forward and also Cresswell.
Sorry, if you're wondering why you're a little bit time lapse, so you stop talking, but your lips keep moving for about a minute after you stopped. I don't know if you're going to say anything else or not. I've got to get onto this because I'm not critical of David Moyes, but he was always a nearly manager for me. I mean, when he was at Everton, he did well. He kept them, you know, he seemed to have a good season, then a not so good season, but they're always kind of mid-table nothingness, if you like. He came before, kept you up, but, you know, you didn't keep him on. You didn't, or a lot of fans, not you personally, didn't want him there. And yet, like I say, he's doing miracles for you, isn't he? Him and Jesse Lingard.
Yeah, I think they're both doing miracles. Obviously, showing how West Ham can perform and kind of strong with the rest of the league.
Is he on a long-term contract with you, or is it like a roll in 1 year? Or
I think it was 18 months, and then it was going to be obviously renewed after that.
Yeah. So basically, probably at the end of this season, you're going to be looking at contract talks. Do you think a lot of West Ham fans then would want to keep him? Because, like I say, let's be honest with you, not every fan, but the majority of fans didn't want him back. You got him. He's doing this. Do now the majority want him to stay? Do you think?
Yeah, I think the majority are going to want him to stay because at the end of the day, he's doing very well for the club. And obviously, if he gets Champions League, we might be able to go a bit further in the Champions League. Or if we're Europa League, we might be able to do well in the Europa League.
Well, you know, it's as I say, I take my hat off to him. I would not have thought that he would be doing what he was doing with you at the moment. But I've got to talk now owners, because we tragically lost our owner, as we know, a few years ago, but the family has still owned the club. We think we've got some of the best owners in football anywhere in the world, to be honest with you. I have a feeling you wouldn't say the same about your owners.
Personally, obviously, I don't like them because obviously with everything going on between them, obviously there are bids coming in for the club, obviously quite high numbers as well, and I think they need to think and realise that the fans don't want them there anymore.
That said, when have owners ever listened to what fans are saying about them? just look at Newcastle, you know. But I mean, they owned Birmingham at one point. They've obviously they sold that on and bought West Ham. Are they West Ham fans, or is one of them a West Ham fan, or am I making that up?
I think you're making that up. I'm not 100% sure. I think one of them grew up around West Ham, and I think that's something to do with it. I'm not sure.
Right. Are you hoping? You know, we've seen demonstrations against them in the past. Are you hoping that they do sell, or is it a case of, well, better the devil you know? Because at the end of the day, let's be honest, they have backed you with money, haven't they?
Yeah, they have backed us with money, and obviously sometimes they don't always want to give it. But at the end of the day, it's kind of showing that they do want to provide for the club and kind of give it to the club.
Yes, yeah. It is a good question for you. Then, would you want to keep them too, or would you want Mike Ashley?
I'd probably have Mike Ashley, to be honest, because he's probably going to give me.
Wow, that was an answer I wasn't expecting, to be honest with you. But fair play to you, mate. Now I'm going to have. If I was a betting man, I must admit, I probably would go and have a bet on West Ham to beat us, only purely because Mark Lawrenson has predicted that we're going to beat you 2-1. And Mark Lawrenson never gets our predictions right. But we have a thing, we'd have a thing on our website, which is where we get some ex-players to sort of predict the score for us, and we have a bit of a mini league going. These names will probably mean nothing to you at all, but Steve Walsh has gone for a 2-2. Steve Linux has gone 2-0 to you, but he likes to play reverse psychology because he's bottom of the league and he's only got one right all season. Ian Marshall's gone 2-2. I've actually had to agree with Mark Lawrenson, and pains me to say that. I've gone 2-1. How do you think it's going to turn out? You're obviously going to go for West Ham, aren't you? Think you can beat us?
Yeah, I'd like to see us obviously a West Ham win, but it's going to be a tough game because obviously Leicester can prove what they can give, and if they perform like they did against Man United, it's going to be a struggle for West Ham.
Yeah. Would you at this point, if I gave you a point, would you take that, or?
Yeah, I'd take a point, but obviously I'd rather take 3 points, to be honest.
Yes. I mean, I'm just looking around here. Liverpool have got Villa. Tottenham have got Man United, so that could do us a favour. And that's sort of the only games that can really affect us. But yes, I mean, I think the worst for us is I have a feeling I might actually take a point now, because if you do beat us, like I say, it is so close. And looking at it, I mean, goals scored, we're 58. No, we're 53. You're 48. Goals conceded, we're 34. You're 37. There's nothing to split us up. We're just so close to each other.
Yeah, I think we're really close to each other, and it's kind of proving that all the team can mash together and prove that not little teams, but like the teams who are normally like mid-table can actually prove and say, look, we are big clubs now.
Yes, yeah. We're going to say good evening to Melina. Good evening, Melina. Rascal, how dare you? How dare you, lady? I'll forgive you because you're an Arsenal fan and you've obviously no idea what you're talking about at all. But all seriousness, good luck for this evening, Arsenal. I'm one of those. I don't know about you, Gary. I do like to see English teams. One time, if we're not in it, I like to see English teams do well.
Yeah, I do like seeing teams do well.
Yeah. JB, I'm guessing you might be a West Ham fan here. West Ham to beat Leicester 4-0. I tell you what, if you beat us 4-0, you can come on the post-match show and have a chat with us, because hopefully that won't happen. I want to ask you this, if I can, as a last question. It's going off the game itself, but it's a little bit of a thing of mine. Internationals. We've got players that have come back. One of our main sort of defenders when we have a back three, well, anyway, is Soyuncu, who stepped into Maguire's shoes very, very well. Probably played a better, but he's come back and tested positive for coronavirus. Surely, you've got to cancel these international games until it's all sorted, haven't we?
Yeah, I think it's probably best to kind of cancel the internationals and focus more on their leagues, because they can stay in like their own country and kind of. Yes. So obviously English, but the Premier League kind of can stay in the Prem and stay in England and focus on that more than focusing on trying to get for the England squad.
Yeah, I mean, having said that, I don't watch England now until we actually get to a tournament anyway. JB, this is you supported Leicester too long here. This is he's a Leicester fan, and I know we're going to bottle it. JB, there is nothing like a football team like Leicester for bottling it. We are the champions at bottling it, but. Let's hope we don't bottle it, and let's hope we can burst a few bubbles. This weekend. Gary, thanks for joining us. Give us a bit. Where can we find you? Say you do the True Fans podcast when you look at all the games of the weekend and talk about all the Premier League games. Where can we find you?
You can find us on Spotify as True Fans Podcast, which is obviously where we post most of our stuff on there.
Yeah. Brilliant. Guys, give that a listen and see what they say about Leicester, and then give them some hell. Gary, thanks very much for joining us. I'd say good luck at the weekend, but I wouldn't mean it. I really wouldn't. But once we go past the weekend, good luck for the rest of the season. I hope we finish third and you finish fourth. That would be a nice league this year.
It would be a nice league.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for joining us, mate. Take care and stay safe.
I will do in a bit.
Cheers now. Take care. So thanks very much to Gary there. He really sort of did dig us out a bit of a hole, if you like, because it was only up until yesterday we couldn't get a West. We thought West Ham didn't have any fans because there was none that were coming on, I'll tell you. So can the Foxes hammer a nail into the coffin of West Ham's top four challenge tomorrow? Or will West Ham, and like AB said, do one over Leicester, do the double over us? Will we bottle it? I do get worried. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. I mean, sort of when you look at the table there, 56 points for us, 52 points for West Ham. If we do bottle it, if we do lose, they're only a point behind us. Chelsea, yeah, we got to get out of jail free card last week with West Brom doing that. But they're calling, getting up on our backside. Really, they're coming up. Tottenham, we know we're going to bottle it. They always do, don't they? Liverpool, well, they've still got Europe to contend with, so. They may be concentrating on that. I'm not going to say I'm not worried. I really, really am. I say the only thing is this season, when you look at the table, we know we've got to go out and play because we haven't got that much of a cushion, if anything at all, really. Thing is, which Leicester are going to turn up? We have seen this season, and it's a theme that if you've been watching the shows, if you've been following us, you'll know my thoughts on this. We go through the season and we can play like Brazil. We can, go and beat Man United 3-1 in the FA Cup, get through to the semi-final. We played brilliantly. And then we played against Fulham at the start of the season, like we played against West Ham at the start of the season, like we played against Arsenal recently, like we played against Man City last week. Which Leicester are going to turn up? And it's the same thing. I don't know whether Brendan's telling them to play in a certain way. I know he's telling them to play to play out from the back, and that scares me a lot. So with no Soyuncu, he is still out, unfortunately. Ricardo, Madison, they should be back and playing. Fingers crossed, haven't we, really? If you want to listen to this again, remember, find us on YouTube. We are Leicester Till I Die TV. Please do us a huge big favour. Would love you forever. I'll send you money in the post from my uncle in Nigeria. Just click on that subscribe button and give us a follow. And if you want to listen back to this so you can listen to us while you're washing up for the missus, we are available in podcast form on Amazon FM, Google Podcast, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Podcast Addict, and Amazon Music. And if you've got a smart speaker, just ask to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die. We're going to be back tomorrow night. We're going to be back at 7 o'clock with my chat chum Craig, and we will be joined tomorrow night by ex-Fox Richard Smith. For those of us of a certain age, you will remember him in the old late 90s. He'll be joining us as we look unbiasedly, I like to think. We're not though, are we? At the game. I'll see you tomorrow at 7. Guys, thanks for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed it. See you tomorrow night at 7 for me, Craig, and Richard. Take care, guys. All the best.
Hello, Matt Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and follow all their social media platforms for all the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.